Good afternoon. I'm Chelsea Jones. Thanks so much for joining us here on the CBS News Miami stream. As the war in the Middle East intensifies, tensions here in South Florida have increased. We're entering the 6th week since the October 7th attack on Israel, and we've been seeing a lot of reaction here in South Florida. And right now, that is happening down in Miami Beach. Separate demonstrations have kicked off in Lummus Park, and we're going to start things with CBS News Miami's Morgan Reiner, who is live where a pro-Israeli protest is taking place. Morgan, what's going on around where you are?
Chelsea, there is so much going on where we are. If you just take a look around, you'll see that we have a large crowd of people here holding up Israeli flags, American flags. They're also holding up those posters of the kidnapped kids' faces. And you'll notice my cameraman Barry is going to turn the camera across the street where you'll see the opposite side. You have the pro-Palestinian side. Now, the police officers tell me here that the intention was to separate these groups, but naturally they want to talk to each other. They want to yell what they want to yell at each other. And so they came together. Now they're on opposite sides of the street. And you can see there is a huge law enforcement in this area. And about 30, 40 minutes ago, when the pro-Israeli side was about a block away, the pro-Palestinians were walking by, and there was a very heated exchange. You can see it in this video right here. They were going back and forth at each other. There were tears involved. They were each calling each other terrorists. Now, you'll notice that the pro-Palestinian side for this event today is bigger, and that is because everyone on the pro-Israel side will tell you today is Shabbat. Today is the day of rest for Jews. And so many of the Jews that you will see out here are either one, not religious, or two, had to get special permission from the rabbi to allow them to use technology to come out here and to share their side, because to the rabbi it is more important to get out that message to the world. And so we're just going to show you around here for a few seconds, and you can see the heated exchange happening back and forth between two sides. And standing right next to me, I have someone who has lived here on Miami Beach for a while. His name is He's on the pro-Israel side, and he's going to join me here to talk to you a little bit about his message. What do you want to get across today?
I think it's such a tremendous injustice what is going on here. First of all, on the Shabbat, to be here in Miami Beach protesting something that is so lopsided. These people overwhelmingly supported Hamas. They voted for Hamas as a governing body. Israel turned over Gaza to the Palestinians in 2005 with farms, with greenhouses, with factories to create a real economy. And what have they done? They built tunnels. They've fortified themselves to go and slaughter innocent Jews. They are killing babies, and they're talking about Israel committing genocide. They're the ones who committed genocide. They slaughtered babies, they raped women, they took Holocaust survivors.
When you see across the country that anti-Semitism is up, what do you want the message to be?
I think people should study history and know the real history behind the land of Israel. Yehudim, Jewish people have been, Israelis have been in Israel for thousands of years. We're not the occupiers, they're the occupiers. They built Al-Aqsa Mosque on top of our shul, on top of our temple. They desecrated our temple. That's how long it goes back. Let their Arab brethren take them in. Let their Arab brethren who have vast, enormous wealth support them. Israel has supported Gaza. Israel has given them opportunities to come and work in Israel, work permits. And what do they do in return? They come and they destroy. That's all they know what to do.
And I have spoken to people here throughout the day on the Israeli side. We have a team on the pro-Palestinian side as well. And they all say that you are only one person removed from what happened over in Israel on October 7th. I spoke to someone who lives here in Miami Beach. He was a former IDF soldier. He says that he knew multiple people that were at that Nova Music Festival on October 7th. Two of his female friends were sadly murdered. Now, I want to point out this isn't just, ordinary civilians here out on the street as well. Like I said, large law enforcement presence. You have Miami Beach Chief Jones. He is out here as well. There is a state representative out here as well. He is actually on the pro-Israel side, and he is chanting to the other side, hey, I'll be happy to pay for tickets to send you back over to Gaza so you can see what you are cheering for. And you can see everyone is holding up the faces of the kidnapped kids. They hear people calling for ceasefire, but they wanted to include the message that the hostages should be released as well. Chelsea, I'm going to send it back to you in-house.
Well, Morgan, before we let you go, you talked about a ceasefire just now, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today basically pushed back, saying that that is not going to happen until those hostages have been released. And we've also seen a lot here in our South Florida community that people in the Jewish faith are arguing and wanting people to get those hostages back home. What has been some of the conversation today with regard to the 239 hostages?
Yeah, I mean, it hurts everyone on this pro-Israeli side to hear everyone calling for a ceasefire, to stop the fighting. But in that message, they're not also simultaneously saying release the hostages. And that is where a lot of the anger comes from, because the people on the pro-Israeli side here say that, of course, they feel bad for all the innocent civilians in Gaza that are being harmed in the process of this war. But what would you expect, a mother or a father to do if their kid was under a tunnel in Gaza? And so that is the message that this pro-Israeli side is trying to get across right now, Chelsea.
And then, Morgan, you also touched on something significant, that today is Shabbat. So that is a holy day. It's, a time of rest for the people in the Jewish faith. Talk to me about how important it is that they've come out on such a holy gathering and time for this community to protest.
Yes, so Shabbat is the day of rest for the Jewish community, and that is a time when you are not supposed to use any technology. You are not supposed to use your phone. You're not supposed to get into a car. Anything that ignites an electricity or any sort of flame, you're not supposed to use. And so these people, like I said, that came out here today are either not religious, or some told me that they had to get special permission from a rabbi in order to use their car or to use a scooter, whatever it may be, in order to come out here, because to a rabbi it is so important, and to the Jewish community it is so important to make sure that they are here continuing to show the faces of the hostages that are in Gaza, to continue sharing their message in the face of what they say is evil.
Morgan Reiner, live for us in Miami Beach. Thank you so much for your perspective on the pro-Israeli side. Now we want to take a look at the other side of Lummus Park, and that is where we have some pro-Palestinian protesters, and we find our CBS News Miami's Ted Scouten, who's joining us from there. You sent us video earlier today, just kind of the demonstrations. They've grown. Ted, tell us what's happening where you are.
Chelsea, this has really grown. This has actually turned into a moving protest. You can see them. This is the pro-Palestinian side marching down Ocean Drive. I don't think this was planned. I think they just kind of started marching. They're going to march further down toward Fifth. You can see all the signs here talking about wanting a ceasefire now, wanting to stop genocide, stop killing children and women is what they're saying. Also, free Palestine. So this is a large group. It's really grown a lot since around 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, there were maybe a dozen people here. Now it's grown into hundreds, if not more than 1,000 easily. But this group has definitely grown a lot. We're seeing several groups all coming together for this march here. What we understand they're doing right now is marching to another part of Lummus Park. And once they get there, that's when they plan on having some type of healing circle, is what they were saying. But the big call here, as you watch people march here, is for a ceasefire. And also free Palestinians is what people are saying here. They're also asking that people stop funding anything that would go toward the efforts to attack Palestinians. And they certainly don't have very many nice things to say about Netanyahu, and not about Biden either. So again, you can hear the loud chants, ceasefire now, and the occupation. That's what they've been saying throughout the day here. Chelsea?
Yeah, Ted, and then, CNN is reporting that the Ministry of Health in Ramallah is saying that more than 10,000 people have been killed in Gaza as a result of the retaliation that has happened in Israel. What is some of the conversation that you're hearing from the people that are there? Are they mentioning that? Are they upset, aside from just occupation, but the amount of deaths that are happening on their land.
Obviously, they're quite angry about all the deaths that have been occurring in the Gaza Strip. They've been talking about hospitals that have been bombed, areas where civilians are that have been being bombed, talking about women and children dying in the Gaza Strip. So that's a major part of it. We just came to the end of the march. Now you can see them leaving, walking away from us right now. But there's definitely a lot of talk about concern over the number of civilians who have been dying in the conflict.
And has it been mainly peaceful? Morgan talked about, where she is, the heavy police presence. We see some Miami Beach police officers in front of you. What's kind of been the managing of these crowds down there?
God is not a part of you. Okay.
Initially, when they were both across from each other, there was a line of police on bicycles up against the pro-Palestinian side. There were ATVs in the middle, and then more bicycles on the other side, the pro-Israel side. Now that they've moved, I don't know if the other protesters plan on moving as well, but this one definitely making its way down Ocean Drive. We see police are with them. Again, I don't think this was planned for them to take over Ocean Drive. It just happened. And we knew that they were going to be marching down to further onto Ocean Drive toward 5th, but we didn't know that they were going to be taking over the entire street.
And then you mentioned some sort of peace, unity moment that's going to be happening at the end of, I guess, this impromptu march that's happening. What is going to be happening there? What have you heard from organizers and people that are there?
What they're saying is it's a healing circle, so everyone will just kind of be there, be together. She didn't really go into a lot of details what they plan on doing, but they said it's just a moment for all of them just to be together and just to kind of be in the moment.
All right, Ted Scouten, thank you so much for giving us that perspective on what's happening on the pro-Palestinian side. We'll check back with you in just a couple minutes. And if you're just joining us now on the CBS News Miami stream, we're currently covering some counter-protests happening in Miami Beach. With regard to the Israel-Hamas war, we have pro-Israel and pro-Palestine. You just heard from Ted Scouten, and he was following the pro-Palestinians that had an impromptu march of sorts down Ocean Drive. And right now we want to go back to Morgan Reiner, who is on the pro-Israel side. We're seeing a lot of chanting, a lot of people showing up, and the significance is that this is Shabbat, and it looks like she's joining us now with law enforcement. Morgan.
Yeah, Chelsea, I am standing here with the public information officer for the city of Miami Beach, and he is going to talk to us now about all of the planning that went into today's protest. As you can see, at this point, it's spanning blocks.
Absolutely. So the planning was extensive. We are working with both our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners to ensure that everyone is peacefully assembling, and also we don't neglect the public safety element in all of this.
I don't even know how many officers out here, but this is a large showing, right?
Absolutely. So within our own organization, we have enhanced staffing. So we do have an enhanced staffing deployment. We also have other law enforcement partners, such as the City of Miami resources, and again, some federal resources as well. So you will see a large presence, and the message is very clear. We're here to monitor the sequence of events, make sure that everyone's voices are heard and their constitutional rights to peacefully assemble aren't infringed upon. However, we just can't stress enough how important it is to be lawful, and also the public safety element as well.
So when you're monitoring what's going on, in addition to any violence, you also monitor what is being said between the two groups in terms of maybe any hate speech that goes back and forth?
Absolutely. So we have cameras everywhere, and we're utilizing different resources, different tools, so again, that we can ensure that our residents are safe, our visitors are safe, and the demonstrators, right? Their safety is also very important to us as well.
People who are not involved in these protests, do you think the rest of the Miami Beach community should maybe let them do their thing before they come out here today, or is everyone, safe and welcome out here at this time?
Well, again, we have an array of law enforcement resources deployed out in the field. We're utilizing an array of technology also to help us out. So, again, our message is remain peaceful. And if you see something, if our residents, if our visitors, if another demonstrator sees something that may seem a bit odd, please let one of us know out here or call it in, and you can remain anonymous.
And I think I asked you this earlier, but initially when I got out here, the two groups were about a block away from each other. There were actually fences set up a block away for the pro-Israeli side. Was that intentional to start off the two groups separate and then naturally they came together?
Absolutely. So we do everything in our power logistically to ensure that each side obviously have a fair chance to exercise their constitutional right. Obviously, whatever happened after that, we're here to monitor that and just ensure that everyone is safe, everyone's voices are being heard, but also in a peaceful manner.
I know you are very busy, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us live on TV. We appreciate it. Chelsea, you heard all of that. Miami Beach Police and their partners, state, federal level, are all taking this very seriously. They have endless law enforcement presence out here.
Yeah, Morgan, they clearly definitely were prepared for these demonstrations. And I know you've been covering it several weekends. We're now entering the 6th week, and we're seeing a lot of demonstrations happening here in South Florida. You know, from the people that you've spoken with, you know, over the last month and a half, what has been the conversation? Are they going to slow down? Are they going to continue to show up every weekend, you know, during the week to kind of advocate for whatever side they lean on?
Chelsea, for as long as this war goes on in Israel and Gaza, you will not see this slow down. You're right. Over the last month, I've been talking to people on both sides, whether it's pro-Palestinian protests, whether it's going to supply warehouses where they have sent 8, 9 cargo planes of supplies. Everyone says that they will keep on spreading the message for as long as it takes, because at least on the pro-Israel side today, where I've been stationed, they don't want anyone to forget about those 239 hostages. They're going to keep putting up those posters. They're going to keep showing up to every rally and protest that they hear about, because it is important for them to keep on showing those faces so that the world does not forget what happened on October 7th.
All right, Morgan, definitely comprehensive coverage right now. Thank you so much for that perspective from law enforcement and what you just said about your coverage and what people are saying as this war continues. Well, we want to go right back now to Ted Scouten, who is covering the pro-Palestinian side of these counter protests. A lot of people behind you, Ted, and like we mentioned, you know, about 5 minutes ago, this has grown substantially in size over the last hour, correct?
Yeah, let's give you an idea of how many people we're talking about. Pedro, if you can go over onto that side there, just kind of pan over so we can see the size of the crowd here. At around 3 o'clock, this crowd was about a dozen people. Now you can see several hundred, 1,000 perhaps. They had been stopped here at 7th and Ocean for a few minutes. Now they're starting their march again. Again, what folks are saying here is ceasefire now. That's the biggest chant that we have been hearing. Also, stop the genocide is what people have been saying here. Very angry, very upset about all the civilians that have been killed in this conflict. And they want Netanyahu to stop. They want everyone to stop supporting any kind of defense or any kind of fund that would lead to attacks on the Gaza Strip. Again, the crowd here is moving, making its way down toward 5th and Ocean. Right now we're at 7th and Ocean. So this crowd still growing, still people showing up, coming up on the back side of it, and as they march down Ocean Drive.
And Ted, we're seeing people of all ages. I mean, I see a stroller in the shot right now. You have kids, you have, you know, people of older age, and then everyone in between. I mean, what does it say to have all these people here, you know, regardless of what side they're on, to show up to support as we enter the 6th week of this conflict, of this war?
Yeah, we're seeing families here. We're seeing young people. We're seeing middle-aged, older people. We're seeing people who are Palestinian Americans, people who are simply American, people. We're just seeing all different types of people here throughout the day, and it's been growing. But there's also a group of people here. One of the organizers of the event is actually from a Jewish group, saying that they support the efforts to stop for a ceasefire and to stop killing civilians in the Gaza Strip. So we're seeing people from kind of all walks of life here.
Yeah, and you mentioned, and also several news outlets like the Associated Press, CNN, are reporting, that the largest hospital in Gaza did lose its fuel. So we're talking thousands of people displaced. Of course, we're talking about thousands that have been hurt and killed. What has been the conversation with regard to that? I know you mentioned earlier, people are very angry with regard to that. The resources in the Gaza Strip right now that are very limited.
People are calling it genocide. That's what the folks in the crowd here have been saying, that it's genocide. They want that to stop. They want that ceasefire to be put into place, and they want the funding to stop going to anyone who might attack the civilians in the Gaza Strip. So they've been very vocal about the killing of women, children, innocent civilians who have been killed in the conflict.
Yeah, and for those just joining us, they are marching, which you said was kind of impromptu, and later there will be a unity circle. Not exactly clear what will happen there, but after these demonstrations, there might be a moment of coming together.
That's what it appears. What they were telling me is they just want a moment where they can be together, that they call it a healing circle, just to where they'll have a moment. They'll be able to take a breath, so to speak.
Absolutely. All right, Ted, thank you so much for your coverage and giving us that perspective of how many people are out there. But we want to thank you all for joining us for this special, coverage of our counter-protest happening in Miami Beach. If you're just now joining us, we're entering the 6th week of the Israel-Hamas war, and people here in South Florida, whether the pro-Israel side, pro-Palestinian side, are showing their support and wanting their sides heard and their perspectives being told here in South Florida. So we thank you. We've talked to Morgan Reiner. Police are down there. We'll have this for you on our website, CBS News Miami, if you want to watch later. But thank you for joining us.